whole chapter to the authorities, modernization of the state and its institutions, and to have a freedom, media freedom and other things. I think the new generation have demand is with the new demands. The problem is the government is facing all of these demands by the old tools, and it will not work. They need a revolutionary way of thinking inside the Al Saud family, not only in the government.
Okay, all right. Let's bring in back Ma Yamani in London to open this out a little bit. Ma Yamani, you talked about the Arab awakening. I want to just raise the issue, if I can, of contagion, because that's quite important, isn't it? I mean, there are reports that King Abdullah told the Bahraini authorities next door that if they don't crush their own Shia revolt, his forces will. How much of a threat is the dissent in Bahrain to the House of Saud, do you think?
The dissent in Bahrain is a real threat to the Saudi monarchy, basically, as we know, because of the Shia in the eastern province, who are related to the Shia Bahraini, and they are around the border. Now, this has been a serious problem for the Al Saud, as in they had continued the politics of discrimination, severe discrimination against the Shia, who have been asking for reform. And if there is trouble in Bahrain or in, they're tied by the umbilical cord, if there is trouble in Saudi Arabia Eastern Province, then it can expand. There are no more borders. The borders are open. Borders of ideas are open. Saudi Arabia is also in the south, has Yemen. And Yemen, again, there are the movements of the people, the tribes, the ideas. So that's another threat down the south. So the ruling family in Saudi Arabia are faced with the outside influence and this upheaval that is taking place in the region. But what they have not yet done is really embark on serious reform. From 2003, when the reformers have asked for, and academics and professionals for, constitutional monarchy, they were jailed. So, as we have seen in other countries, if they do not communicate with the new, with the middle class, the educated middle class, and have dialogue with them, then we have seen that today there are more serious demands and that are dangerous and threatening for the survival of the regime.
Okay, so they ignore those voices at their peril, I guess. Let's bring in back Khalid Al-Maina on the phone from Jeddah. Khalid, King Abdullah has been accused perhaps of misjudged bribery in an attempt to avoid unrest. He unveiled this $36 billion package of social reforms. Is that going to work, do you think?
Well, I think any reform will work. I don't think so that at the press of a button you come up with that kind of plan. I heard from the sources in the offing. I'm not an advocate of anyone, but I would just like to point out one thing which was said regarding King Abdullah telling the Bahrainis if they don't take care of the Shia problem. I think the protests in Bahrain are mainly also non-sectarian, and the Shia are 70%, and they have valid points. But I would not like to focus this on the Shia Sunni thing, because it's going to cause great division. Remember that 44% of Saddam's pilots and his top officers were Shias in the fight against Iran. They didn't go on the other side. I would think these are genuine aspirations by all people, no matter what sects or ideology they belong. People are seeing this the awakening in the Arab world. People would like to be others. I asked some young Saudis yesterday, what would you like to be? They say, you would like to be the young of Singapore and Japan, and you would like to have a level playing field. Now, having said that, I don't want to narrow it into Shia or Sunni because it defeats the purpose.
All right, well, let's bring in back Abdulaziz Al-Khamis. Abdulaziz Al-Khamis, many intellectuals in Saudi Arabia are warning that big financial gestures just won't work, and that the king as you said earlier, must listen to the voices of disenfranchised young people. Is the king going to listen this time round, do you think?
Until now, I didn't see any signs of listening to the new demands. We just heard a lot of wishes, our promises, but it's nothing happened until now. What we observe, really, we found the Saudi government using the old tools, the religious establishment, fatwas against demonstrations, our using forces in the Eastern Province and in Riyadh. Other area, they try to promise them with the new financial helps, like in Jeddah, and big projects. But the truth is, there is no what you call it, logic way to face the demands, especially demands of freedom. It's not only money matter. Other things is not only Shia problem, our mainly Shia problem in Saudi Arabia. It's nation problem. It's a problem of reform. It's a problem of bring justice and equitably to people. And the problem is the Saudi government. It's not working or not participate in the same or to face the in a right situation the new demands, especially from new generations. There is a lot of unemployment. There is people, and there is a lot of problems in schools and even in the health sector. Even the king and his family, they go to have a health operations outside the kingdom. The problem is, it's a whole system need to change and to reform.
Okay, Maya Mani, let me bring you back in here, because AlJazeera Al-Khamis raises a very interesting point. It's not just the issue of discontent among the Shia populace. I mean, there are two sides to this coin. The Shias say they've been sidelined as a minority, but very importantly, there are young Sunnis who also feel disenfranchised in the kingdom. Which of these do you think is the greater threat to the House of Saud?
The Shia, and one thing that we have missed here is the importance of oil, as Saudi Arabia sits on 1/5 of the known oil reserves in the world, and the only oil-rich area in the Eastern Province. The Shia there are a majority, and therefore they have been more, they feel this economic marginalization and discrimination more. Now, we have, I think, in all the movements that we have seen across the Arab countries or the revolutions, we think that they are more about the individual needs for dignity, and that the sectarian divisions, Sunni, Shia, or as we saw in Egypt, Christian or Muslim, really are secondary. So if we are looking at Saudi Arabia today, the most important Arab country today, after the changes in Egypt, of course, you have Saudi Arabia, that is the oil-rich country, and that is also the cradle of Islam. Mecca and Medina are in Saudi